and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to play Ordinary by Alex Warren on the guitar. Here's a quick overview of everything I'll be covering in this tutorial today, and with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so we only have 6 different chord shapes to play through this entire song, and we're going to start with our E minor, which looks like this and sounds like this. And by the way, if you don't know how to read these chord charts you're seeing on screen, I do cover how to do that in my free beginner series right here on YouTube, so make sure to check that out right here. The next chord shape is our D major. We also have our D over F sharp. Then there's our G major. We've got our A major. And our last chord is our bar chord, which is our B minor. And those are the only chords you need to know to play through this song. So go ahead and pause the video and take as much time as you need to really memorize these chord shapes, as well as practice transitioning back and forth between them, because it'll make learning the rest of the song so much easier for you. And if this is a skill you're currently struggling with, I do have a Practice With Me chord transition series right here on my channel where we build up the skill in real time together. So if you need help with those chord transitions and speeding them up, I would definitely recommend checking it out. I will link it in the corner for those of you who need it. But once you have these chords under your belt, we can go ahead and talk about the strumming that I would recommend for this song. So as I always say, if you are brand new to playing guitar, or you're somebody who struggles with playing guitar and singing at the same time, the first thing I would suggest doing is to bring up the song and go ahead and go through the entire thing with just a single down strum on each chord change as you sing through the song. And you want to take this time to really get used to what word or what syllable you're on whenever those chords are changing. So here's a quick example of what that would look like. You're taking me out of the ordinary. I want you laying me down till we're dead and buried. Alright, so that's just a really quick example, but you would essentially want to do that for the entire song and just really make sure you know where those chords are going to be changing. And this is actually something you can do right now if you check out my Patreon page. I do have this entire guide available to download and print out, so I will make sure to leave that link in the description box. Once you're comfortable with these chord transitions, then we can go ahead and talk about the more full strumming pattern that you can use for this song. Alright guys, so for strumming today, it looks pretty simple, but there is a little bit of nuance to it. So we are going to be counting this in a triplet rhythm. So basically what that means is we do have 4 beats in a measure, but within each of those beats we're going to have 3 sub beats or 3 triplets. Okay, so what I want you to do for this strumming rhythm is we're going to play a down strum on each of the main beats, 1, 2, 3, and 4, but we're also going to have an up strum on the very last triplet of the 4th beat, so the so basically it's going to sound like this. We have a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a down, 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 up, down, 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 up. Alright, the difference between this pattern and a straight 8th note pattern is pretty minor, but if you can keep that kind of triplet pattern going internally, it'll really help mimic that little solo tab that you hear going throughout the song, which I will teach here at the end. But basically this strumming rhythm we're going to use for the entire song, okay? So throughout it, we're either going to play this pattern 1 time or 2 times per chord, and we also are going to have a few places where we're going to actually split this measure. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first chorus. You can see here we're starting on our E minor chord, and you're going to play through this pattern 2 times on E minor. So we have down, 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 up twice. To our D chord, down, 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 up twice. Back to E minor. Back to D. So for the first half of the chorus, we're just going back and forth between E minor and D with this strumming rhythm. So I'm going to add some singing so you can hear how that comes together. You're taking me out of the ordinary. I want you laying me down till we're dead and buried. On the edge of your night, staying drunk on your vine. The angels up in the clouds are jealous knowing we found something so. Alright, now when we get into the second half of the chorus, you're going to see an increase in the chord shapes, and this is where we're going to actually use more of a split measure pattern, okay? So looking back at our strumming rhythm, I'm going to go ahead and add a vertical line here after the third down strum, and what this represents is where I want you to switch chords. So throughout the rest of the song, whenever we get to the chorus, you'll see that we're going to be changing chords a little more often, and so if you see these little hash marks over the lyrics, that's going to represent wherever we're doing a split measure, okay? And again, all of this is listed on that guide that's on my Patreon page, but basically whenever we have a split measure, we're going to do the first chord on the left half. So let's go ahead and look at that E minor. You're going to play down, down, down on E minor. Then you're going to quickly switch to this D over F sharp and play that last down, up, all right? And another piece of advice is for the D over F sharp in this song, like the full chord is with all 4 fingers, but because it's going to move so quickly, I actually don't even put my ring or my pinky down. I just use my index and my middle finger for these bottom 4 strings. All right, so if you want to do that too, I do think it's an easier transition to go from E minor to D over F sharp like that. And so basically, anytime you see this little hash mark, that's going to represent a split pattern, which we're going to have 2 chords per measure. So we've got E minor, D over F sharp to G, down, 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 switch to A, down, up, and then on B minor, we hold it for a whole measure, down, 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 up, to A, down, 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 and then to D over F sharp, down, up. And again, going from A to D over F sharp, same thing. I just use the bottom 4 strings, all right, because it's kind of an easier transition that way as well. So basically, let's play through the whole second half of that chorus together. We've got E minor, switch, G, switch, B minor, hold, to A, switch, all right? And then we're back at the beginning, E minor, switch to G, and then you have A, and we hold this for a full measure. All right? I know this can get a little confusing with where we're going to be changing chords and how often, but if you listen to the song, it should feel pretty intuitive. And again, this last half of the chorus, how we just played that, is going to go for the rest of the song as well, okay? So let's go ahead and speed it up and put it all together a little bit, and I'll add some singing in there so you can hear how it all comes together. We've got E minor, D, G, A, B minor, hold, something so out of the ordinary. You got me kissing the ground of your sanctuary. Shatter me with your touch, Lord, return me to dust. Angels up in the clouds are jealous knowing we found. All right? And how we just played that chorus is how we're going to play all of the choruses throughout the song. You are going to see this mimicked in the bridge as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the bridge. You're going to play this exactly how you played the chorus, but the melody of the singing is the only thing that's different. Something so heavenly, higher than ecstasy, whenever you're next to me, you're my mind. World was in black and white till I saw your light. I thought you had to die to find. All right? So again, the bridge and the chorus are played the same way, and then that'll lead into the very last chorus, which is the end of the song. The only place that's going to be a little bit different here is in the second half of the chorus. The rhythm's going to change a little bit because it kind of builds up. The angels up in the clouds are jealous now when we found something so. Right here on this line, something so out of the ordinary, we're going to just mute our strings on out. So we have jealous now when we found something so out, all right? And then this whole line is going to be muted, out of the ordinary. When we get to the ordinary word, we're going to go E minor, D over F sharp, G, all right? All in succession really fast. And then the rest of it's going to be the same. So again, that line is, the angels up in the clouds are jealous now when we found something so out of the ordinary. You got me kissing the ground of your sanctuary. All right, right, so that's the only line in this song that's a little bit different with the rhythm. Other than that, you can use this strumming pattern to play through the entire song. Now, the reason I didn't cover any of the verses is because the verses are more like quiet and you hear kind of that melody line on the piano going through. So that is actually a super easy tab that I'm going to teach next. But if you do want to strum through this entire song, then for the verses, I would recommend just single down strums on each of the chords, or you could do this full strumming pattern if you wanted to. So that's kind of up to you. But like I said, we have a really simple tab that we can learn. So let's go ahead and talk about that next. So again, go ahead and pause the video and take as much time as you need to really get used to this strumming rhythm. I know that it looks super simple on the surface, but that kind of triplet pattern is a little bit more nuanced. So if you're not used to playing in that time signature, it can feel a little more difficult, so just take your time. But once you're comfortable with this strumming rhythm, like I said, we have a solo tab that I can show you that's super easy to play, so let's go ahead and talk about that next. Alright guys, so for this little solo tab, you kind of hear it throughout the entire song. It's that little high-pitched piano line. It's actually super easy to play on the guitar. What you can do is take your pointer, middle, and ring finger and put those on the bottom 3 strings, the G, B, and E, here on your 12th fret. So if your guitar's like mine, it'll have dots that denote all the frets, so you want to go to your 12th fret. And I like to hold it kind of like an A chord shape with my index, middle, and ring finger. If your fingers are a little bit bigger than mine and this is uncomfortable or you can't fit all of them into this one fret, the other thing you do is just bar it like this with your index finger. So whichever one's more comfortable for you, I kind of like to do it this way, so that's how I'm going to show it. Basically, all you have to do is play the G string, the B string, and then the E string over and over 8 times. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's the first half of the little pattern here. Now I'm using my fingers because I like to finger pick, but you could totally use this with a guitar pick as well and just, you know, pick down for all of these. If you want to be fancy with it and have it sound a little more like the original song, on the 7th time that you do this, you can add your pinky here on the 14th fret of the E string. All right, so it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 8. All right. So if you want to, you can add that in. Again, if you're doing the bar, you can use your middle finger for that. And then the second part of this little tab is you're just going to scoot down 1 fret and we're going to do kind of a D minor 7 chord shape. So basically my middle finger is here on the 11th fret of the G string, and then my index finger is barring the bottom 2 strings, the B and the E, on the 10th fret, okay? All right. And again, you're just going to play this 1 string at a time, 8 times total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then from there, you'd go back to that first part and then play it all over again. All right, and that just kind of repeats itself throughout the entire song, but it's especially really apparent during the verses. So my suggestion is, if you can do it, I would play this tab during your verses as you sing. They say the holy water's watered down, and this town's lost its faith. Our colors will fade eventually, so. For my cover, I'm just gonna stick with strumming just to keep it simple, but if you wanted to do this tab, you would just play it over and over again throughout the entire song, and I think it sounds really great. So again, this is a super beginner-friendly tab that I think most beginners will be able to pick up pretty easily. So if you want to, go ahead and pause and take some time to really get used to transitioning back and forth between those 2 chord shapes in order to play through this tab. If you want to, you can also totally ignore this section and just strum through the song. But once you feel comfortable with everything I've taught in this tutorial today, we can put it all together to play through the song. 1, 2, ready, go.
Lost its faith, our colors will fade eventually, so if our time is running out, day after day, we'll make the mundane our masterpiece.
Want to have fun jamming out to the rest of the song with me? Yeah! Then make sure to check out my Patreon page where you can unlock access to this as well as all my other fast track and play along guitar tutorials. I'll make sure to leave a link for it in the description box down below. If you enjoyed learning this song with me, then you should definitely check out this video. Not only does it have a super similar vibe and feel, but it's just as fun and easy to play, so I'll see you over there.